Hi everyone, and welcome back to Maker Show. My name is Sherry, and I'm your host today, together with my good friend Goran. Hi Goran, how are you doing today?
Hello, Sherry. I'm doing great, and it's been a while since last episode, so I'm really happy that we are back with awesome project today. And so who do we have today?
So today we have a really interesting project, and done by one of our Microsoft MVP, who's based in UK, and he made a project that I personally really interested in looking at it because it touches one subject which I really like. One is IoT. The other one is that using literally technology for doing something good, which is which I really have a lot of passion for doing such a thing. I would say that let's bring the speaker on the stage so he explain the project. Hi, Cliff.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
So could you give me some brief introduction about yourself? Sherry did introduce you, but...
my name's Clifford Aegis. I'm a freelance .NET C# developer working mainly IoT, Xamarin, or Maui as it is now. So mobile and IoT are my two kind of bags, and obviously the Azure backend that goes with. And when I'm not doing that, you'll find me at 40,000 feet, zipping along at 600 miles an hour, flying a 787 around the world for a major UK airline. So I'm off to Dallas tomorrow. So I'll pack all this away later after this call, and go and get my uniform and make sure it's ready for tomorrow morning to go to Dallas.
I was always wondering, okay, I mean, you fly up and then you have to do some stuff to land the plane, but what are you doing up in the sky? Are you also taking a nap and watching some kind of movie like the rest of the passengers? Or...
Sadly not, no. We do get breaks, so there'll be 3 pilots tomorrow going to Dallas, so we'll get about 2.5 hour break during the flights to kind of have a rest. And we got a special rest area for the crew on board the aircraft, where there's little beds so we can go and have a sleep or watch a movie, that sort of thing. But when we're in the flight deck, we're obviously interacting with aircraft, listening to air traffic control, controlling the aircraft, dealing with the autopilot, make sure all the systems are okay. But we can still, read a book or a magazine, that sort of thing, because we interact with the aircraft, even on a kind of 10, 11 hour flight. When we're in the flight deck, we have to interact with the aircraft every few minutes. But when you're in the cruise at 40,000 feet, zipping across the Atlantic, there's no one to talk to, and there's not much going on. So you can kind of read, and you kind of become very adept at looking up at the instruments, out the corner of your eye, and spotting what's wrong or what's not wrong. I've just come out. My sim check has been the last 2 days. So every 6 months we're going to sim to be checked. So they give us all sorts of failures and problems and then at the end, hopefully, what they did yesterday, they signed my license to say that I'm fit to go flying again, and I keep my job for another 6 months. We're really, really highly examined community, and then the .NET and development is fun. So occasionally I get to do jobs for clients, and they give me money for it as well, which is awesome. So. Yeah, but this what I'm going to talk about today. Handy is a very fun project. That was an awesome project to work on.
Yeah, we are going to. I have one more question for you, and then we are going to.
Yep.
Again, related to being a pilot, because I personally record a lot of pictures and a lot of videos about flying. I wonder that if you also do that, and you have a big collection of all of these amazing pictures and videos.
Yeah, I take a lot of photos. Anyone that follows me on Twitter, you'll see my Twitter handle there at Clifford Aegis. Whenever I go flying, I always take a couple of pictures from the flight deck window. It's an amazing office where the view changes every second. And I quite often taking pictures of desolate parts of the world where people don't normally go. So tomorrow it'll be bits of Greenland, bits of Canada, and the likes, and it's interesting. Before the show, we was talking about sustainability and things. I've flown commercially across Atlantic for over 10 years now, and in that 10 years, if you look back at the first photos I was taking this time of year, it would have been still icy and a lot of snow and icebergs around the kind of Greenland, Iceland, that kind of area, and the northern part of Canada. But I can guarantee you the ones I take tomorrow, you'll be able to see rocks and grass and stuff like this. So, all these parts of the world that, we talk about climate change and people talk about it and dismiss it. I've seen it in the last 10 years with my own eyes, and it's certainly opened my eyes to what we're doing with the planet at the moment. I know this isn't the subject meant to be talking about today, but it's something that I noticed, and anyone that follows me on Twitter will see with the photos and what I put in the comments. Hopefully we get to turn it around. Hopefully the G7 are all meeting at the moment, aren't they, in Cornwall in the UK, and hopefully they get to get together and come up with a plan to sort of solve the problems.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's what we can hope for. So with that, I'm pretty sure everybody is super excited to listen to your talk and watch your presentation. So if you share your screen, I can add it here.
Just do that now. Oh, come on. It doesn't want to play ball. There we go. And
fantastic.
And I need to share screen, and you should have my screen share.
And let me just look at it. Well, he's not here yet. Most probably it will come soon. But what we are waiting, by the way, what your MVP, but in which category are you in?
Developer technologies is the category that I'm kind of mainly working in. So yeah, I do a lot of IoT, and IoT is one of those weird ones that sits in the middle between developer technologies and the Azure stack, because your little electronics needs to speak to the cloud at some point, and obviously we're going to use Azure, so it's kind of sits in between the two.
Yes, and by the way, I haven't seen your screen here yet. Can we try again?
Try again.
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. It's that one there. Let's try that again.
So go on again. I am the only non-MVP in the code.
Oh.
But don't you work for Microsoft? So you can't be an MVP if you work for Microsoft, can you?
Yes. Okay, we have you here. So the stage is yours. And for all of you out there, we do have a kind of a specific package. If you ask a question, we are going to choose one of the questions at the end of the show to get a swag. And also during the show, we are going to share a link for claiming your Azure Heroes, and also answering the feedback question. So feedback question also, if you fill it out, you also get another swag box. So feels like Christmas, and the stage is yours. Okay.
Thank you very much. As Grant and Sherry have mentioned, I'm going to be talking about Handy, a 3D prosthetic hand, 3D printed prosthetic hand that I built for a friend's son. And in that, there's IoT, there's some Xamarin Mobile App, and yeah, we'll talk about a little bit about me. I'm a little bit different, as you've probably heard in the pre-show bit here. I'm an airline pilot that does development on the side. So I fly the 787. You can see my office window there, and I'll be taking pictures of that and post them on Twitter tomorrow, so you can happily follow me on Twitter. But when I'm not doing that, I'm a freelance .NET, Xamarin or Maui IoT developer. And the reason I mention it is not because I want to show off that, look at me, I'm an airline pilot. With this project, when I give this talk, I put this slide because there's a very important part of this project that the aviation side comes into, and I'll come to that a little bit later. My passions: love coding, love teaching software development techniques, especially at kids, electronics, kids clubs like the Code Dojos and stuff like that, and helping others. Spending time with my family, mountain biking. But that's enough about me. Let's meet Kayden. Now, Kayden is happy-go-lucky. When we started this, he's 14, going on 15 years old. He's obviously a little bit older now. We've been doing this for a few years. But anyone that's astute there will notice that in the pictures there, Kayden's missing his left forearm. So you can see as he's falling into the water, his left forearm is missing. That's since birth. It was an issue at birth. And you can see his right hand is missing all these middle fingers. So he's got his pinky and his thumb. And then, as he calls it, his claw hands. Crab hands, because he can grip like a crab. But he's a happy-go-lucky teenager. They do exist, apparently. My two teenage boys are not happy-go-lucky. They're quite grumpy at times, especially when I tell them I have to go brush their teeth and stuff like that. But hey, let's move on. So Kayden, as I say, was born missing his left forearm. So from a very early age, literally from a few months old, his parents, certainly his mum, Sharon, got him involved in a project with the NHS where they were looking to provide children with prosthetic limbs. Previously, they only did it for adults. So it's looking at provision for doing this. The NHS, National Health Service here in the UK, is fantastic. It's helped us get through the pandemic, saved lots of lives over the last year and a half. We can see there, Kayden is off to the 2012 Olympics in London back in 2012. And you can see there his party piece. You can see, and the reason I put this photo is it's his party piece, and he finds it quite funny. But you can see his arm. He's clipped it onto the London Underground, the London Tube Station. He's clipped it onto the handrail, and he steps away. So you can see his arm pulls out the socket. You can see just about make out the thin wire, which is literally, I'm not joking, is 100-pound fishing wire. So it's just fishing line that fishermen would use to go and fish for big fish in the sea, and that's all that is. And it goes across to a pad on his other shoulder, and as he moves his shoulder backwards and forwards, it opens and closes the grip. And if you look where the grip is at the end, you can see the beige part right at the very end. You can see, and they're just elastic bands that they get from the postman or the store, and that the elastic bands keep the gripper closed, and the cord pulls it open. You can see there in the lower picture, that is the change from 1 year to the next. So what happens is, as he grows each year, kids tend to do that. They grow and get bigger. He goes along to the hospital, and the prosthetic surgeons and technicians take a plus cast mould of his stump, and then they make a mould from that, and then from that they then make the arm, and he gets a new arm. That process costs the NHS National Health Service between £4,500 and £6,500, so not cheap, not massively expensive, but not cheap. The hook on the end, it just carries forward to the next arm because it's the same connector that connects it on, and the same technique of the cable pulling. He's had a couple of replacements because he's broken them basically. But in doing that, they cost anywhere between £1,500, so £1,500 and £2,500. So it's not much change out of £10,000 for one child. And then the following year, let's go back and repeat the process, back and repeat the process. And when they make the arm, they make it slightly too big because they know he's going to grow into it. So as you hear mums often saying, "Don't worry, you'll grow into that." That's what the doctors do. So he starts with, you can just about make it out in the picture. His stump, you can just make out the white sock on his stump, and that's a prosthetic limb sock. So normally when he gets a new arm, he pulls on 2 or 3 of those, and so it fits. And then he obviously puts it in, and as he grows, he takes less and less socks. And then when it gets started getting too tight, he goes to the hospital and gets a new one. But we want to improve this. So back in December 2016, when this project started, you can see the news article there, 27th December 2016. There was this news article on the news media in the UK, and about this dad that 3D printed a prosthetic limb. So he's actually wearing one himself there in the image, but it's also for his daughter as well. My 2 boys go to the same school as Kayden and his sisters, and or did at the time. And his mum met me in the playground and said, "Cliff, you seen the news about the prosthetic arm?" I was like, "No, I haven't." 3D printed prosthetic. I was like, really interested. And she knew it'd get my interest because, I have plenty of 3D printers around me, and I like that sort of thing. And you have 3D printing, haven't you, Cliff? I said, yeah, I have, Sharon. Instantly knowing what she was asking for. So I was like, okay, let's see what we can do. See if we can make something. Let's see what we can do. So let's hold my beer. Let's watch this. And this is Kayden. Hopefully you can hear the audio as well. his arm. So you can see he's quite adept at using his arm and his hook. You can see the cable coming off the hook there. You can see the strap across the back of his shoulder. He normally has that under his t-shirt, but I asked him to wear it on the outside. And he's making me a cup of tea. So you can see that he's quite adept. And the reason he's very adept at using his limb is the fact that he's used one since pretty much birth. He's had until he's 2 or 3 years old, he had a prosthetic limb that was literally just a stump, fiberglass molded hand. It didn't do anything, didn't move. And then from a few years old, they started to give him one where the thumb moved, so he could oppose the thumb and start to grip things gently. And then as he's grown older, he's gotten into the arm that he has there. So we wanted to improve on that. So obviously, if it was in the news, it's got to be somewhere. So what we wanted to do was is go looking. So if I this wrong one. If I find my mouse, where's it gone? Don't you hate it when your mouse disappears? There we go. If we bring this across here, and so we started looking at a website called Limbless Association. Now, this website is brand new. Until about 2 months ago, this website, this link, how can we help, went to this page is under development. And it was under development when I started looking at this project in 2016. So I'm not sure which developer has built this website, but they've been working on it since 2016 until literally a few months ago. So, you know, they've hopefully they was on a day rate and they did quite well. Actually, hopefully not, because it's a charity, but you can see where I'm coming from. So we went here and there was next to no help. There is now, and if you know anyone that needs the assistance, Limbless Association is there to help you. They've got lots of fantastic information on their website now, but at the time they didn't. So we then went, you know, as you do, Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, whichever is your browser of choice. We then went and found the news article, and it linked through to Team Unlimited. And you can see this website's obviously moved on. They've got the Isabella edition now. The one they had before was quite old and clunky. It's now, you know, they've had some people that are very good with 3D design involved and have made something that actually looks fantastic. I printed a few of these people, and now because if you've got a 3D printer, you can join the team and you can become a volunteer and volunteer your printers to print parts for people around the world. So my printers have printed a few people around the world. And I've even dropped them off in country on my travels. So, you know, it's a fantastic opportunity of mixing both of my careers to do that. But as you'll notice there, you'll see that's the, if I do this, you'll see here, and you'll see over here, the system uses cables again. So it still works on the same premise of the fact that you pull a part of your body which pulls on the cables. Here they're using braided fishing line, so it's still a 100-pound fishing line, but rather than the plastic one that Kayden was using, it's now braided because you can tie a knot in it, and also as it goes through the channels, it doesn't wear as much as the plastic, so it lasts longer, and unbelievably, it's cheaper as well. So you know, save the planet at the same time. But this arm is fantastic. But we tried it with Kayden. The early version, obviously, and he didn't like it because here's one. I'm not sure if you can see my camera feed as well. Tell me if you can't. But you can see it can't oppose and grip stuff. So it didn't really work out for Kayden. He wasn't too keen on it. So we moved on and we went looking some more. And if I do this and move on to the Open Hand project, we found the Open Hand project looking around, and this is a guy called Joel Gibbard. He's doing his degree at University in Bristol, and he wanted to get into building prosthetics and robotics. So you can see, you know, he come up with a design. It's a little bit more clunky than the one you see previously from the Isabella arm, but this is a few years old now. But this has got motors and electronics and wires and stuff, so that really got me interested. So then we follow the project a bit more, and we come across Open Bionics. This is Tilly. Tilly's one of their poster children, and you can see there she's got the hero arm. which is the arm which Handy is part of. You can see the fact that they can use the arm and its full biomechanical use. So once we found this, the name Open Bionics leads itself to say, well, it's open source, and we all love a bit of open source. So obviously went and found their GitHub repo and found that there. When we started this, it was still open source. It was still, being contributed to. So I put a couple of PRs in for some things on the software side and the likes, but it closed soon afterwards, after we started the project. And it's been closed. You can see there, the last time there was a commit to this was 3 years ago. And you think, well, why close an open source project? And my doing a bit of background research and trying to dig into it a little bit deeper, because it upset me at first, but I believe it's because they're trying to get the arm, the Hero arm, approved with National Health Service in the UK and around Europe and in North America. So that they can actually get the health service to provide it. To do that, they need to get especially certified. To do that, it can't be open source, is my understanding. So hence the reason it's closed. But the files are still there. There's versions of the files that have been adapted where I've got on my GitHub repo. You can go across to my GitHub repo. It's just Cliff Ages is my GitHub repo, and you'll find the files there to download as well. And there's been some subtle changes to them to fit in the electronics, which I'll talk about in a moment. So we go back to slides. That was how we come and found the project. So we fired up the printer, my old Rep Mendel printer. It's still up on the shelf up above me here. And we tried to print the parts. But as you can see there, the quality wasn't brilliant. The old printer really wasn't up to it. It wasn't great. So what do? Obviously, you upgrade. So that is a Prusa Mark III i3, which is sitting next to me now. And the part that's circled in blue, when I was assembling this printer, it becomes flat packed and you assemble it yourself. And that's a great way to learn about 3D printing. When I assembled it, that blue component there, I snapped. I screwed the screw in the wrong way and snapped it. I didn't look at the instructions, typical man thing to do, not read the instructions. But thankfully, my old Rep Mendel had some filament in it. So I fired that up, downloaded the file from Prusa website and printed the replacement part, because all those components are replaceable and all 3D printed. So now it's still got it. It's still sitting there with that blue component on the side of it now. And I've got a couple of other printers beside it as well. So we fired that up and we printed all the parts. This is the parts from the Brunel hand, the hand that's sitting behind me. You can see there that we've got the white parts are the PLA, which are polylactic acid filaments. You can see the four motors in the top corner there. They're just linear actuators, DC, supply DC voltage, 12 volts, and it moves out 20 millimeters. Reverse the voltage, it will come in 20 millimeters. It's got an inbuilt potentiometer as well, so you can sense where it is in its 20 millimeter travel. We've got lots of screws, nuts, bolts, springs, and then these brass inserts. If you do any 3D printing, Inserts Direct is the company you want to go to. These brass inserts, you put them in with a soldering iron. You literally put them in a soldering iron and you just push them into plastic, and it melts into plastic and they stay there. And then you've got a machine screw thread, which means you can screw in a normal like M3, M4, M5 screw into them. I use loads of these, which is why I've got a big bag of them rather than just buying 10 at a time. The red parts though, you can see here, that's just flexible filaments, and that allows the parts, you can see here, and that is effectively the tendons just like they are on your hand, so that just allows it to pull it back into place and keeps it all connected together. So if we move on, this is now how do we connect it to Kayden. And you can see here is my printer. It's 5 hours and 45 minutes left to connect to print, as you can see in the window there. So 5 hours 45 left to print, and this is the socket. Remember we talked about a moment ago how Kayden connects the arm to him. He puts a socket on. So this is printing the socket and testing out the design for that. So 5 hours 45 left, and like most people, I leave my printer to print overnight because electricity is cheaper and it's a bit boring watching it after you watched it a few hundred times. I come down in the morning to find the 3D printer's worst nightmare. The printer popped off the print bed. You can see, thankfully, it fell backwards and fell onto the windowsill at the back, and then the print head is printing in free air, which is why you get the spider's web crap stuff in the on the print bed. It's just kind of swept away and put in the bin. But thankfully, it printed just enough. You can see it failed with about maybe 45 minutes left to go. And we managed to take that to Kayden, try it on, and it was too small. So we went into slicing software, printed another one, and that was too big. And in nursery rhyme style, just like Little Red Riding Hood, we printed the third one. It was just right. And you can see here as Kayden trying on version 3. And you can see there we've got a nice flat face on the ends where we can screw into to provide the rest of the arm for Kayden and the socket that connects to Handy to. He said this actually this actually fitted better than the one from the hospital. So all we do now is every few months he calls me up and says it's getting a bit tight, Cliff. I print a new one. As you can see, it's an 8-hour print, and that prints away, and it costs 80 pence, so less than $1. Maybe €1 in Eurolands. So it's super cheap, 8 hours printing, so a little bit of electricity as well. And it just screws on. Him and his dad fit it. I don't need to get involved anymore, and they fit it, and Kayden goes off to school or college now, as it is. Quite happy that his arm's now fitted and working. But I've mentioned prices, so let's look at this. If you ignore the top bit, the molds, and we just look at the hand in the middle, you'll see here that we've got the price per kilo of filament, and it comes in a spool, a 1 kilo spool, and you feed that into the printer, and it melts it at about 210 degrees and prints much like an inkjet printer does, goes backwards and forwards, and then it moves up a little bit and does it all again. And then you can see the cost of the components here, and you can see the total cost for printing Handy. So this element here, all of this costs £4.93 or less than £5. So what, $7, €6 or €7, and that is the hand. The flexible filament parts, you can see here, is a bit more expensive for the 3D printable material, but it costs 20 pence. I'm still on the first spool. I've made about 15 of these hands and arms now for people, and I'm still on the first spool of flexible filament. So that is going to go a long way. The molds, though, you see on the hands, there's the black areas. And on Kayden's is black as well. That is neoprene rubber, so it's just like the neoprene rubber that you get on diving suits and things like this, and that is soft and squishy, and the idea is it just allows it to grip, because this plastic is like Lego plastic. It's a bit slippy, but this allows him to grip things. So the molds allow us to mold the parts. So we put this is the palm mold. You put the palm in, fill the reservoir with the Vitaflex, which is neoprene rubber. Push this in, push it down. It all squirts through the channels. You leave it for 16 to 24 hours. Take it apart. A little bit of a clean up with a skill knife or craft knife, and then it's good to go. I'm on the same set of molds. So again, that £10 that you see as a cost for the molds and the print time, I'm on the first set of molds, and I've made about 15, 16 of these now. So even the cost of that, so the going forward cost for making a hand is less than £5 or $7. The arm, the bit in the middle, this section here costs £1.20 to print, and there's a hole here. We'll get to a bit later, but that's where the battery slides into, and it's a friction fit that slides in and fits, and then the Handy, the socket goes on the end there, and Handy connects to the end there. So now we've got this. How do we control? Like I said, we've got motors. How do we control these motors? This is where we're getting into the IoT now, on 3D space. This is the Open Bionics controller board. It's chestnut boards. This is what they sold on their store when they had a store 3 years ago. And they used to sell this for £250 plus VAT and postage and package, etc. And it was a bespoke Arduino compatible processor board that they built or had designed in-house and had manufactured by one of the companies like Osh Park or someone for them. But they never had them in stock because they waited until they got a batch of orders and then got them in. So I waited about 3 months to run these, and it wasn't forthcoming. So I was a bit annoyed at that, but I moved on to look at the other areas, see what we could do there. How does that get signal from Kayden or another child? Well, it uses these myaware sensors. These are basically detecting the EMG signal that comes from your muscle. So when you move a muscle, your brain sends a signal down and it's detecting that signal. And as you move the muscle backwards and forwards, it can detect that signal. but you have to place it correctly. So you can see here the EMG output there. You can see the muscle group, and it's obviously not a real muscle, but you can see there. The only correct placement is the green one in the center, because it's on the center of the muscle mass. It's in the center and in line, and you get a good strong signal when the muscle moves. If you have it the intervention zone, the blue one at the top, the purple one to the side, midline offset, you don't get a good enough signal to trigger an output. And then the myotendon junction, which is the orange bit at the end, if I go back one, that little fly lead that comes off the little sticky pad, that's where you stick the myotendon junction. So it has a null reference, and then it can measure the signal between the two. But we have to stick the sticky pads on. So those sticky pads are the same ones if you go to the doctor and you have an ECG. The sticky pads are stuck on your chest to get an ECG signal. And we need 2 of these controller boards. They cost 35 to 40 pounds each, depends where you buy them from. And you're going to stick them on a child. Child's going to break them. Let's be honest. Sticky pads, you need 6 of them per day. You can buy a pack of 50 from eBay, Amazon, places like that, or your local chemist, and they cost about £5, £6 for a pack of 50. So it's only going to last you a week and a half at that use rate. So it's an ongoing cost. I'm not happy with that, but we'll come back to that later. So like I say, you stick on the muscle, child's going to break it. But, you know, we need to stick 2 on there. We need to stick one on the inner forearm and the outer forearm. And the reason we need to do that is it detects open and close. Now, this is audience participation time. You stick your arm up, your hand pointing towards and make an angle with your arm, hand completely up to the sky, hand open, and you do it open. So you hope your hand flat away from you. You'll feel the muscle at the back of your arm go tight. You do it and you pull that hand towards you, the closed one, the muscle at the front goes tight. Hold your hand pointing towards the ceiling and you create a fist. You feel both muscles will go tight. And that is open, close. And when you do the grip, you change the next grip in the grip sequence. We'll come to that later. So grip sequence. The grips in the grip sequence, Open Bionics come up with 5 grips, fist, palm, tripod, pinch, and gesture. And they're the ones that they thought were the ones that, you know, will get most people through life. And they're the ones that they loaded into their software that they put into things. So you can see there, now imagine living life with only 5 grips. You're only ever going to get 5 grips with that hand. Not ideal, not perfect. So while I was waiting for the board to arrive, I looked at the software and delved in a little bit deeper. You can see here, this is the animation array for each of the grips. And this is in Arduino C. So it's kind of C++ Arduino-ish. If you know anything about IoT, you'll know it's lovely. But if we look at one in a bit more detail, you can see here the thumbs grip. You can see the animation timer starts at 0 and counts up to 100. And then there's a time that it does that over. For Kayden's arm, he has that set using the mobile app about 1.6 seconds because he found that's about the right speed for him. Another person I built this for, I'm not going to mention names because they're not given approval for me to talk about them. They have it set slightly shorter, and another person has it set slightly longer. So it's a personal thing that you have to set. That's why it counts from 0 to 100. And as it does that, it opens and closes. So F0 is the thumb, F1, F2, F3, F4 as it goes across your hand. So you can see how the animation timer counts up. And you can see if we look down at the pinch grip at the bottom of the screen there, it starts with a thumb fully open. And when it gets to 10 in that timer, it moves the thumb to the 700 position, which is almost opposed. It waits there, and then the rest of the hand closes around it. And the last minute, it moves that last bit so it poses, and that's what does the pinch grip. So that's how it works. Now, I've explained that to you as software developers and engineers. If you wanted to make a new grip, and one of the first things Kayden asked for was an Xbox grip, you wanted to make a new grip, you could probably give an hour or two and maybe a bit longer with downloading all the SDKs and software and get your laptop set up to program the board, etc. Given an hour or two, you could make a new grip sequence and stick it in there. But you're an engineer, you're a developer. How would this work for a technician or a doctor in a hospital? How would it work for a parent? How would it work for a child to add a new grip, delete a new grip, actually have a pack of grips because they're at school and they want special grips for school? And now they're at Scouts, like Kayden goes to Scouts and he wants a grip for Scouts. How do you do that? You can't expect him to carry a laptop around and unplug his arm and plug a laptop in and take all the back of the hand off because the board's buried deep inside the back. Can't expect him to do that all the time. So, you can notice I'm talking about drawbacks. So let's look at those drawbacks. We talked about the board, single source supplier, often out of stock. They now no longer sell them. There's no store. You have to buy a whole arm, and they're in the 10 to 15,000 upwards mark, so quite expensive, but they are going down the certification route, and Open Bionics are an amazing company, and a lot of time for them. Expensive board. The malware sensors, you stick them on a child, they're going to break them. The expensive sensors, you have to keep playing with the jeweler screwdriver to set the gain levels on them, and the sensors are quite expensive, the pads, sorry. And the grips, like I said, you might want to change your own grips. So I use a lot of Adafruit stuff, and this is the Feather system is one of my favorite boards. That along with the Tinsy board, one of my favorite boards I use in IoT projects. And the Feather system is great because that red block at the bottom there of the board, it could be Bluetooth like it is in this one, it could be Wi-Fi, it could be LoRaWAN, it could be a prototyping area, it could be, there's you know, loads of different variants of the board. But I had a couple of these kicking around on my bench for client projects. So I was like, I wonder. So I took the software, and you can see the specs here. It's fairly similar to the Chestnut board that Bionics provides. There's a couple of bits missing, like the fact that there's no EEPROM, but we can fix that by having a flash EEPROM, and that's just a software thing. So I took the software from Bionics, adapted it to work on the Adafruit boards, and went from there. And the good news is those boards are super cheap. And to prove a point, I bought a set of them for Kayden's arm from Amazon and got them delivered next day for less than £30 each. So as opposed to 250 plus shipping and tax and stuff, down to £30, and it was in my hand the following day, just to prove a point. We also then use, you can see the upper board there, the one with the red and black cable coming out of it. That is an Adafruit Feather motor controller board. And that allows you to control the motors using I2C, which is a serial protocol for talking to the board, and then it will take care of controlling the motors for you. And then we just feed back the potentiometer to the analog inputs on the Adafruit board, on the Adafruit Feather board, and then we're good to go. We're off to the races. So one of the problems I did have, though, you can see in the right hand, the motor cable is a flat ribbon cable, and that's connected into through holes on the Adafruit board. But we managed to solve that by finding some connectors and soldering those up with a little bit of ribbon cable into the through hole. The other circle that's there, the higher of the two red circles, that's a Pololu voltage regulator board. So what I'm doing is taking the voltage from a power brick, and this is just a standard 10,000 milliamp hour 5 volt USB power brick. And I take that and convert it down to 3.3 volt, which runs the boards. And also take it, and there's another Pololu board which does a step up to 12 volts, and that provides the power for the motors. So those boards as well, they're around the £10 mark, and this battery is around £20. Kayden's got a couple of these, and they provide all the power for his arm until obviously his mobile phone goes flat and he unplugs his arm and charges his mobile. But he's a kid, what do you do? Or young adult now, so I should really be calling him. But now we've solved the processor thing, so we've crossed that off the list. Excellent. Now let's move on to the malware sensor. I read this fantastic magazine. I've been a reader since the very beginning. Issue 1 is on my bookshelf in my office. Hackspace, if you're into IoT, it's an amazing magazine. I was reading this article by Graham Morrison, one of the writers of the magazine, and he was talking about Arduino debugging. I've done a lot of Arduino debugging, but it's always interesting what you pick up from other people, other experts. So I read along, and it was all fairly self-explanatory stuff, but I was really interested in this. Hold on, my keyboard's gone a bit. Yeah, I was really interested in that sensor in the bottom right of the image there, and that's a piezoelectric sensor, a bit like the buzzer in your PC. If you've got one, when your memory's not working, etc., it buzzes. This works in the other way. You apply a knock, a bash, and it provides a millivolt output for a few milliseconds. So it works the other way. So rather than providing a voltage, it gives you a voltage. You can read that in with an analog input. So we tried that on the arm for Kayden instead of the malware sensors. But the problem was with the malware sensor, you could stop mid grip and go back the other way. With this, because we only had a few milliseconds, we closed the whole grip, or we opened it all the way. And Kayden wasn't happy with that, preferred the malware sensors. So we went back to the drawing board, and hold on, it's all gone. Oh, no, Inception. What's happened here? That's what I've done. There we go. We'll try that again. There you go. So we went back to the drawing boards, and you know, as you know, we quite often did with Kayden. He was very good at giving us feedback, positive and negative. And then I found these 4 settings of resistors on SparkFun Electronics. And this is, you can see in the GIF, whatever camp you're in. You can see there, as you apply pressure, it changes its resistance, and you can then put a resistor bridge across that via the voltage, and you can sense the pressure that's being applied to the cell. And these are used as load cells. And you can see there, they're very cheap. Again, I got them from Amazon, even cheaper than SparkFun was selling them, and delivered next day. Awesome. We wired these into the circuit, connected it all up. I had to change the software a little bit to make it all work correctly, certainly for the timing logic and stuff like this. Tried it out with Kayden, loved it. So now these are stuck, literally glued inside the socket. You can see, I'm not sure it's coming out in the image, it's just literally stuck inside. On Kayden's one, it's stuck a little bit better than these bits of tape, but that's purely because I take these in now quite often when I'm demoing this in person, which sadly we can't do. So now we have a way of controlling it. We've got rid of the malware sensors and the controller board. So now we have a circuit that looks a bit like this. We've got the two where it says wire 31, they go down to the 2 pressure sensors. We have 4 motors on the right hand side. We have 2 controller boards, the 2 poly loop boards, and our 10,000 milliamp hour battery. I've just used a Fritzing circuit just because, you know, it may look complex, but actually if you spend a few moments studying it, it's actually really, really simple. You know, DC voltage out to the motors, and we flip that, telling the I2C and the controller board what to do with the voltage, and then we have the blue wires coming back, and then the analog inputs into the motor board. So we go back, we crossed off the MyAware problem, we solved that as well, but now we've got this grip problem that we wanted to solve. Like I said at the very beginning, I do a lot of stuff with mobile phones. Your mobile phone has Bluetooth, and Bluetooth is great for communicating. But if you've done anything with Bluetooth, you know it's a minefield. There's a lot of stuff there, all these different versions of Bluetooth. But the way it typically works is, in fact, you have a central device, which is a phone, tablet, computer, and that talks to a peripheral device. So my phone talks to my Garmin watch and gets the heart rate, etc. So that's how it works. This is how it works in the Bluetooth LE, or Bluetooth Low Energy. Uses a master-slave technology. I know we shouldn't really use that, but it's still how it's laid out in the Bluetooth spec as master-slave. When they first connect, they agree a timing interval, and the master then initiates the communication. The slave sends a response of what's been asked for, and then they go to sleep, and that's where the battery saving comes in. And then the master wakes up a couple hundred milliseconds later, sends a command, slave responds, and they go to sleep again. So it's a dead simple paradigm for how it works over that. And what it does, it sends a packet of data. You have a profile, which is your Garmin watch, for example. You have a service, which could be the heart rate. And then within that, you have a characteristic, which could be my instant heart rate of the last hour, the heart rate average today, etc. And you have another service, which could be steps. And within that is my steps today and my steps this week, that sort of thing. I'm not quite up at 10,000 steps just yet, so I'll go for a run in a bit. But that's how it works. So now if we just flick across to Visual Studio, and there you go. And apologies, I've not put this one to light mode. Hopefully it's not too dark for you. But if I increase the fonts, hopefully that's okay for everyone. Please shout if it's not. But this has been added to the project, and there's an Arduino, sorry, a Bluefruit.
Hi.
Yep.
I guess we need to make it slightly bigger.
Slightly bigger. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. How about that?
Yeah, that is good.
Excellent. Yeah, as you can see there, as I've highlighted, we got the Bluefruit libraries we bring in. So Adafruit have made the libraries for you. We set some factory defaults, and we give it a name. So that's the name that will appear on the Bluetooth network. So, you know, when you go looking for things, you'll often see the neighbor's TV, for example, or washing machine and things like this. And then all we do is the Open Bionic software had a way for the technicians that built the arm at Open Bionic Labs to set things up, and they had a way of doing it using serial ports. So on the boards that they made, they plugged in a serial port and they sent serial commands to it. I've basically adapted that to work via Bluetooth. So all I've done is just made, just overridden the print statements and just got them to print via Bluetooth. And it's just a UART, which is serial protocol, and it just sends those commands to the phone over Bluetooth. So the phone will ask for data, and the board in the back of Handy, the Adafruit board, will send that data back. And it's as simple as that. Or the phone can send data down to Handy, and Handy will do what it needs to do with that that command. So now we have a way of communicating with Handy. So if we go back to the slides, and one too many. Like I said, I did a lot of mobile development, so building mobile apps. I wanted to make sure it works on all the platforms. I'm an Android user. Kayden's an Android user, but his parents are iOS users. Next child could be using Android, iOS, you do not know. I'm also heavily into C# and the C libraries, so I wanted to stay in C land rather than going have to write in Java or Kotlin or I've forgotten the iOS one now. It'll come to me after the talk, but anyway, you get what I mean. So I use Xamarin, and Xamarin because you can use it in traditional or Xamarin Forms. Traditional is where you just write the business logic in C#, but the UI layer you'll write in the Android, iOS, or Windows version. You write in their specific UI paradigms, or you can go Xamarin Forms, where even the UI layer is all written in XAML. It's a Xamarin XAML. So if you've done WPF or UWP, it's not quite the same. It's about 70% the same. You know, take you a day or so to get into it, but you're not going to be too far off. If you are a WPF developer or UWP, Uno project, fantastic project, which is built on top of Xamarin Forms, is your go-to because you'll be happily at home there. It's 100% the same. So I chose Xamarin Forms shell. So we go across to the other open. There is a key button to move it between monitors, and for the life of me, my brain has got up and left, and I can't think what it is. If I make this 200 again. So what we do here is in the Bluetooth service, we set up the GUIDs that we talked about earlier, and that is the GUID that is the communications. So we know where to the service, and then we have a read write as well. The service has to be in uppercase for some odd reason, but the read write in lowercase. Don't ask me why, but that's the way it is. And then all we do is we have a connection, and we just connect that, and it's done in an asynchronous way using a library that's brought in and open source on GitHub. This is all open source technology, and then we just send the commands. It's just a UART string, so it's literally just sending strings via the Bluetooth backwards and forwards, and we read the characteristics and we do some work with it, which is, you know, dead simple, dead easy to do. And if we look across at the XAML. My computer is running really, really slow at the moment. I'm not sure why. Don't know why. There we go. Look across at shell. This has been changed a little bit with the new version, version 5 of Xamarin Forms, and shell has moved on quite a bit since I built this project, and I need to go back and bring it up to date a bit more. Just scared of breaking it. You know, it's like with old software. Don't touch it. It's working. What we've got here is just some resources at the top. We have a flight header, which is a panel that flies out from the left-hand side of the screen. And then we just set the pages. So we've got a Bluetooth connection page. We've got a page for the grip order. We can change the grip order and things like this. So that is an app that's built for Kayden and loaded onto his phone. I'm fast running out of time. And the other problem I've got is the fact that my son stole my phone because he broke his recently. So I can't load it onto my phone, and for some reason it's not working on my Pixel at the moment. It was earlier, but it's not now, and I can't think why. So I'd love to show you Handy working, and I know there is a video out there, and I'll post it on Twitter shortly after this of Handy working, but for some reason it's not going to work for me just now because I can't connect to it. And I apologize for that, but I'll carry on and finish off the talk in the last few minutes I've got, and then we'll get to the prizes that I heard about earlier. I make a change to the software, I push it up to GitHub, and then App Center, which is a service from Microsoft, monitors that GitHub repo. You can see there, Clifford Ages / Handy App. and it pulls it down, it builds it, and it pushes it out to, it's got master there as well. Now it should say main. I need to update this slide. It pushes out to main, which is all the test people that have got versions of this arm and hand, and including Kayden and his family. And then the dev branch is me and actually Kayden, because he's my tester. And so I can make changes, and we can adapt it and change it, and then it can be sent out to devices. And this is a free service from Microsoft. So if you do mobile app development, you get 240 build minutes per month, completely free, no costs. It's brilliant, and you can publish to iOS and Android and UWP, which is really, really good. So now we've crossed off the drawbacks, we've crossed off the iOS sensors, we've crossed off the processor, we've crossed off the grips, because now we can, if I could show you it, I'd show you the fact that you can move the grips around and change the grips, even build your own grip. And Kayden has got his Xbox grip, so he created this grip himself. We come around, we've used the mobile phone. You see there, he's got black sparkly stardust filament, because he wants the hand to look obviously a prosthetic. He hates the skin tone, because he thinks that people are looking and it's like, is that? And he feels uncomfortable. He wants it to be kind of out there. So he picked this filament, and we use that. And then he's got the green inlay of the flexible filament, because he preferred the green to the red. But you can see he can now play his Xbox with his friends. And the advantage he's got is the fact that he's got an Xbox grip where his trigger finger for playing Call of Duty can work a lot quicker than his friends can, because it only has to move a small part. And he's got motors, and he's changed the timings on that grip sequence so it can move super, super fast. His friends, are upset the fact he can now beat them, but what do you do? So that is, for me, a wonderful part of the project. So we look at the costs. All the 3D printed parts we talked about earlier, the boards and that. The expensive part is the actual motors. They come in at just over £335. They're quite expensive. Price has gone up because they come from the US, and shipping charges have gone up. But I do have on my bench behind me some new motors I'm trying out for another person I'm building an arm for, and they look very, very promising. And we're going to try those out, and that means this price will drop from £300 down to less than 50, because these motors are about sort of £10-12 each, and that will be awesome, which means we can get this cost down to less than £200 for a 3D printed arm prosthetic. Now that is orders of magnitude cheaper than the NHS can provide it to children. So what is next? We're still working on the Xamarin app with different developers, connecting it to Azure machine learning. So there's a part of the app where it saves some data, obviously with the user's permission, and there's no personal identifiable information there, and it's sent up to Azure for machine learning. And the idea of that is it learns to adjust the settings that are then loaded back to the handy when it next comes in. Going full .NET, and we started working on a prosthetic leg. .NET, full .NET, the Meadow F7 board. I'm not going to labour it. Look it up from Wilderness Labs. It's awesome. And I'll go on to that. And then I just want to say why I mentioned being a pilot at the very beginning. One of the printers sitting next to me, this one here, right next to me, is a gift from me to the project. And my son built this with no help from me. And the idea is we're going to put that in a box with some spools of filament. And I was going to take it to a hospital in another part of the world where they don't have the fantastic NHS service, and donate it to a hospital unit. We was talking to a hospital unit in Pakistan and India, both places I visit on the 787 quite often. And the idea was to gift it to them, and I'd visit quite often and help them set up a local unit where they can print these for local children. And if I can get the cost down to less than £200, that is a game changer for children in that part of the world. And again, why we're building Leggy, because there's lots of children have suffered injuries, polio, things like this, where legs have been amputated. So we want to build Leggy and a 3D printed leg along the same idea, so that we can actually build this to help those that are less fortunate than us in the Western world. I just want to end by saying thank you to Kayden for all his awesome help and work and being there for us, and obviously his family as well. That's my talk. If you want to look it up, any questions, you can grab me on Twitter, drop me an email, and you can help out by jumping into Handy app and the rest of the project. All the 3D files, I think, is on my GitHub there as well. Hopefully, I finished in enough time for you to ask a question or two. And I apologise for not being able to. I'll stop the inception. Not being able to show off Handy working is really, really annoying. And I'm going to go and grab my teenage son and tell him what for. Hey ho, there we go.
It was so beautiful, your talk, because it was also very emotional. And what I really love about it, that this is a project that you can all feel that you have passion for it, and
Yes.
indeed it's close to your heart. We have actually 2 questions here.
Okay.
We have actually a few comments that is brilliant and so on. But one question here from Alex, that he asked, does it mean that you have only 4 sensors?
No, we only have 2. I only have 2 sensors. One open, one closed. So it's inside the socket, and they're positioned. These are positioned for Kayden because his muscle groups are slightly off to what your or I would be. Ours are 4.5. Kayden's muscles are moved around because he hasn't got the rest of the arm to hold it in place. So his muscles are side to side. So he tenses his muscle, the muscle goes tense, it squashes the sensor against the hard plastic, and that is an open signal. He does it the other side, it's a closed signal. He creates in his mind a grip, because his mind and the human body, to him, the rest of the arm is still there, creates a grip, and it squashes both sensors, and that is changing the next grip in the grip sequence. So if he holds a grip for, I think he's set for 600 milliseconds. He's quite quick. Others are around the 1 second to 1.5 seconds. So he holds a grip for 600 milliseconds, goes to the next grip in a grip sequence. And then, he can use the mobile app to change it wherever he wishes. And I'm really annoyed I can't show off the mobile app, because that is the bit that is, the secret sauce of this whole project. So great question, Alex.
Great. And then the other one is from Pete, that he asks, any plans to add feedback into the hands so it knows what is working for him?
Pete's asked this question. He's a good friend of mine, and hi, Pete. There is ideas of putting there's smaller sensors that we could put into the finger pads, and then obviously when it hits something, we can feed that back in. But the other thing is the motors, the servo motors I'm using, we can take feedback from those, because if the servo stalls for a few hundred milliseconds, we can say it's hit something and stop the motor. So that's software rather than hardware, but maybe we could use a bit of both, and that's the idea. So we're looking at running a sensor into finger and putting it underneath the mold, so that it will be sensed, because it's quite squishy. I'm not sure you can see it on the camera, but yeah, that is a project idea. I know Pete's interested in seeing that as well.
Great.
Awesome.
Also, we have Alex also said that interesting idea of using gestures to change profile.
Yeah, in the mobile app, you can change the grip sequences that are loaded. So you can say you can have a school sequence, a college sequence, a home sequence, a scout sequence, and that is then the 3 or 4 grips you need for doing that thing. So Kayden's home sequence has got his Xbox grip in it. So whereas your school sequence has got, for holding a pencil and a pen and stuff like this. He's actually learning to be a chef. So he's at college. So he's whereas he's before, his hook, which I didn't show off earlier, his hook here, that there can't grab a circular object. So it can't grab a tomato. It can't grab an onion very well. It will slip out. Handy can, because it's just like your hand. It can hold it in place. And the added advantage is Kayden can use the sharpest knife in the world. He's not going to chop his fingers off. So he can grab hot things out the oven, because he can grab a hot thing. 60, 70 degrees to me or you is going to burn us. 67 degrees to Handy, it's going to cause a problem. So, that is another advantage. So he's learned a bit, and to see him work at college, the fact he can grab around things and actually become a chef.
Yes.
I mean, for me, is absolutely amazing. The fact that he's doing that, and he can become a chef, because now I've given him the ability, or not just me, but Open Bionics and everyone else in the open source community, the ability to have that grip. The fact that he can then do what a chef needs to do, because he couldn't do it before. So, but yeah, that's all the feedback I ever needed.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyone else has question for Cliff?
I'm just really annoyed that the demo gods got me.
No,
I really, really, really annoyed at that. So I'll post a video of Handy working the wheel.
Alex mentioned one more thing, that have you thought of adding extra buttons to Hand itself to control profiles to make it more fluent?
We have thought about that, and if you look at the Open Bionics website, you'll notice they have a glowing circle logo on the back of the hands, and they can use that to change the grip in the grip sequence. I've not added it yet, but we've talked about putting a similar thing on the back here. Kayden's version has LEDs on the side here that shine through the plastic, and the idea is that he can see from the color of the LED in the sequence which grip is the next grip that will action if he does the open and close. But yeah, the button on the back would be a good idea. Open Bionics have done it, so it's totally possible. I've just not got around to it just yet. So, but again, another great question, Alex.
So then, we all agree on that. Alex is going to be the winner of the best questions.
Okay. Yes. Well done, Alex.
Yes. So Alex, I put my work email here in the chat, and you can send me an email. Then we will just sort it out how you can get your actually your price. And Gaurav, do you have anything else to add here? I talked about it.
Well, nothing I can say. Once again, it was an amazing project, like really something inspiring to me, and based on comments to our audience, and yeah, really great work there.
Yeah, thank you. There was a Microsoft before the pandemic last year did take over my house for 2 days and create a short video, which is on the, if you go onto the Azure website, azure.com, and search for developer stories, there's a load of projects, amazing projects around the world, and mine got picked to be one of those projects. But there's a short video that shows Kayden using the arm and the developer story behind it as well, and the technology we use to build it. But it's a great little video, and there's some other fantastic projects highlighting the use of Azure and the clouds and GitHub. Highly recommend you go and search for that and look it up.
Yeah, I will find that link, and I will send it in the follow-up email to all of you to actually to watch it as well. And yeah, congrats on that, and well deserved to be featured with this great project. Yeah, to all of you out there, if you want to claim your Azure Heroes Learner Badge, all you need to do is just scan this QR code and to get your badge. If you haven't had any of these badges before, you need to download an app by our partner Engine, and these badges are NFT tokens. And then we added the name of the event, the name of the speaker to that as well. So Cliff, you're going to stay on the blockchain forever now. So, but one thing though is that even though that they are these badges are NFT, no worries, we are not killing the planet because they are based on DotNet, which is actually carbon negative. For this one, we even paid the offset for it, and they are not using the miner.
Get them myself.
And then Cliff, you are going to get also the maker badger because you are a maker. And then if you want to know more about the project and all the badges that are there, you can go on this URL and you can nominate yourself or one of your community friends to get it. And if you check out the hashtag Azure Heroes, you will see that how what actually the developer community is saying about the project.
Excellent.
Gaurav, you want to go for
Feedback? Yeah, we would like to hear your feedback. Please scan this QR code, leave the feedback, let us know what you think, like what could we improve, what kind of talks should we bring in the future, give us some suggestions like, okay, who should we invite and such. If you want to give a talk about some of your projects, yeah, use the feedback form and let us know.
You know what? The demo gods have just finally got me working.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice. So let's go back to have
They've finally got me working. So there we go. There's the grip. So how annoying is that? It was just something really simple. So, and there's the hook grip for carrying the shopping. Kayden removed that. She doesn't like carrying the shopping. And there's the point. It's that way, my friend. So yeah, so this is all on the mobile app. And yeah, I'm really annoyed that I couldn't show it off. But hey ho, yeah, it was a hey ho. There you go.
Right.
At least I got it moving. I got it working. So yeah, you all actually see it does work. It does move. But yeah,
I normally have one thing for it. I don't have it. I normally have one for the demo of the car. It works.
So yeah.
So please let us know about the feedback, and remember that one of you that will fill out the feedback form can also win a swag box. And any of you want to say a few words about July?
I can start and Cliff can add if I forget something. July IoT month is coming, and there will be a lot of interesting things regarding IoT posts, tutorials, videos, and such, showcasing different projects. And a lot of showcase of the Azure Percept device. If you can zoom in there, Sherry, that's better. This is a new device from Microsoft that you can order. Development kit comes with device you can see on the right and the camera, and additionally you can order this audio linear array there. So really nicely sits together with other plugs into this whole Azure ecosystem. You can do the custom vision, you can do control things with voice and such, and a lot of those possibilities will be featured through different blog posts during the July IoT month, but there will also be much more. Have I forgot something? There is an open call for blog posts. If you want to write a blog post and contribute to July IoT, please do that. Not sure, can we share a link now? But I know Sherry shared it somewhere on LinkedIn, Twitter. I've seen it popping up. So yeah.
Yeah, I will find the link again. I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be writing some blog posts around. I've written one about opening the box and getting the Percept set up, and I'm just working on another one which is about using it to catalog aircraft components, so taking it back to aviation as well, and using it to catalog and make sure the correct component is being used in the correct place. So you can show it a component and it will say, yes, that is the rib 3 from the left wing. And make sure you've got the correct component. So I'm writing a blog post about that as well. But I'm still building it. I've got a couple of weeks left until July. So but there's going to be lots of fun. I know Pete, who asked the question earlier, is giving a blog post and some stuff he's doing online as well around the Percept and some other things as well. So come along and enjoy July IoT.
Yep, and Pete wrote a comment, Reactor Talks. I've seen that Olivia is running some series over there, which also will be really, really interesting. So check that out.
I believe that if you check the hashtag, you will get the list of all the cool stuff that's coming, and also you will see all the articles and so on as well. And
great thing is also that I'll be on a vacation at start of month, so I'll be able to follow all those things and try them out.
That is true. And definitely we are not going to have a maker show in July. stories.
We will. It'll just be every day. It'll just be every day. There'll be too much content for people to make it onto the real show.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of content there. So make your show will have a recap of it, Goran. Yeah, maybe we can actually do that. A recap of that in August. And yes, with that, is there anything else you want to add, Goran?
I think that's it for today. Amazing session. Pete is also contributing recognize animals in the wild. That's cool. We also had one maker show where Sarah was showing her project, and part I really liked is that she went to zoo to like, because it was for protecting elephants, right? And you cannot find elephant easily, so she went to a zoo to test it out there.
It's part of the project 15, isn't it? Is the one for that, which is an amazing project.
Yeah. That's true. We have that project as well. That is true. And I was just trying to see that if you have a YouTube channel, definitely you can find the previous talk with the one that Sarah also gave as well, with the TinyML. That was that was the title of the talk. Yes, I really hope that we can have more of this project that save animals.
Yes.
I don't want to be biased, but yeah, I really like that topic.
And it started out, the project started out when she saved the cats when she thought the building was burning. So, the fact that it started with saving animals and moved on to saving animals is awesome. So,
yeah, that is true. So
cool.
thank you very much, Cliff, for a fantastic
You're welcome.
show. And thanks, Goran, for being an awesome co-host again. And thanks to all of you watching us.
Sherry.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sherry. Thanks, Goran.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.